I might add also at the very end we'll have some time for questions if you like, or a bit of comment or discussion. And if you've got a question or query during my presentation, put your hand up and I'll try and answer it. Okay, so we'll take it nice and easy. I want you to be relaxed as you possibly can be, and we'll work together on it as a team. Hey. Okay, now like any organisation, Beyond Blue has aims. Chisholm College or Chisholm Institute has aims. Any private company has aims. Organisations have aims. So our aims at Beyond Blue are to raise awareness, okay, about anxiety, depression and suicide prevention. And to reduce something we call stigma. Stigma is a negative thing. It's to reduce the negative feeling that's associated with anxiety and depression. Because unfortunately in society, less so now than maybe 20 years ago or 40 years ago, there's still a negative feeling about mental health and discussing it and talking about it and being aware of it. Also, this is probably the most important message, but we hopefully can convey to you this evening. The third one, encouraging people to seek support and to seek support early. So if you're having issues with anxiety, depression, or having not good thoughts, it's very important to seek support early. We'll talk about how to seek support in a moment, or who to seek support to from. But one of the most important messages Beyond Blue wants to give out to the whole community is if you're not feeling too well in terms of your mental health, you need to seek support. And not only seek support, the earlier the better. Okay, well, in this room we've got a wonderful group of people, as I mentioned before, and it's an honour to be with you and to be able to share this with you. But we've got everyone in this auditorium here, and I want you to reflect on the following statistics in our community, because you're our community, you're part of the Australian community, and this represents us in the community. Today, some facts and figures. Today in Australia, we have 1 million people, that's a huge number of people who are experiencing depression. And I'll talk a little bit about what depression is as we go along, because you might have an idea already, but in terms of what Beyond Blue talks about in terms of the explanation or the meaning, I'll talk to in a moment. 2 million people, double that number, are experiencing anxiety. I'll also give you a definition of what anxiety is, or to be anxious. Not to be just anxious about a little thing, but to be anxious all the time, day in, day out. And this is very, very, very sort of some tragic, very tragic bit of information or statistic. 8 people in Australia take their own lives or commit suicide every day. 8 people. 6 are males. 6 are males. So 6 out of the 8 who commit suicide or take their own life are males. Very tragic, very tragic.
Careful, man.
Okay, now, 1 in 6 women will experience depression in their lifetime, okay? I said at the moment 1 million people are experiencing depression in Australia. By the way, who knows how many people are in Australia, the population, approximately? 25, yeah, here we go, that's pretty close to the mark. So 1 million out of 25 is pretty significant, isn't it? But 1 person or 1 woman in 6 will actually experience depression in their lifetime, sometimes from the young age to the older age, all right? And 1 in 8 men will experience depression in their lifetime. So it's more prevalent for women, okay? More prevalent for women, or more common. Okay, now the numbers increase when we talk about anxiety. There's a bit of a difference between depression and anxiety, and I'll talk about that and give you a brief explanation of what that is in a few moments. But 1 in 3 women are likely to experience anxiety in their lifetime. That's pretty big, isn't it? 33% of women will experience anxiety in their lifetime. And 1 in 5 men will experience anxiety in their lifetime. So 20% of men will at some stage experience depression, anxiety in their lifetime. Now this is I guess, I think I'm on the ball here, but I'd say that everyone in this room here would have some experience of anxiety or depression, whether it's you personally who's experienced it or is experiencing it at the moment, or you know someone. Okay, it could be a family member, a friend, a work colleague, study partner. Okay, I would say I'll put money on it to say that you would know someone, or you experiencing it yourself. But we'll go down that track a bit later. Okay, so health, mental health conditions, they don't discriminate. They don't discriminate at all. They can affect any person of any age, any stage of life, okay? Male, female, young, old, it can affect people at any stage of life. And I hope this evening we can start that very important conversation about mental health that really inspires you to check in with your family, your friends, your work colleagues, your study colleagues, and also helps you to take action to look after your own mental health and total well-being. Okay, your own mental health and well-being, as well as your friends, family, and colleagues. Okay, a common misunderstanding is that people with anxiety or depression can just snap out of it, okay? Do you know what I mean by snap out of it? Just immediately turn on and turn off, sorry?
Get rid of.
Get it off, yeah, exactly. Just they can just turn off, turn on, okay? Or anxiety or depression indicate a weakness of character, and it's not. It's not a weakness of character. You know, many years ago in Australia, people thought that if you have anxiety or depression, or people didn't like to admit it, that you're weak. It's not weak. It's important to actually acknowledge it because it's a very serious illness, can have a very big impact on people. And as I said before, statistics, now I've just shown you one of the most tragic statistics, it's 8 people a day take their own lives because of they're suffering depression of some sort.
Hi, welcome.
Okay, so what is depression? Now this is a very short explanation, and Beyond Blue, and if, by the way, you can go onto their website, Google it, and you can find heaps of information about anxiety, depression, and you can actually translate it into your own language, to your mother tongue language. It has that capacity to do that. But depression is more than just a low mood. You know, sometimes it's just natural to feel a bit low, a bit down, or a bit unhappy, a bit sad. Yeah, everyone in this room, including me, we've all felt sad at times, I'm sure. But it's a serious illness that has an impact on both your physical and your mental health. With depression, you may lose interest in work or study, may lose interest in hobbies, things you really like doing. You may lack energy and just be really lethargic and I couldn't be bothered doing it. No, just doing what I get going to work or doing the cooking or doing things I normally enjoy doing. This is also very important to know. You may have difficulty sleeping, or you may sleep more than usual and just stay in bed and not be able to get out of bed. And we all like to stay in bed, yeah, occasionally. But with depression, people often can't get out of bed day in, day out, and also may find it hard to go to sleep. I'll talk about my story, and I have suffered depression. One of the aspects of my depression was that I would go to sleep late, say 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock, wake up 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and not get back to sleep. It was a terrible, terrible thing to experience, and had a big impact on my life when I got up in the morning, but I'll talk about that a bit more later on. So what is anxiety? Now there is a very important difference between anxiety and depression. Anxiety is more than just feeling stressed or worried. Now I bet everyone in this room at some stage has felt anxious about something or worried. Right? We worry about our family, we worry about our work, we worry about making sure we make ends meet, we worry about finances maybe, worry about our study, worry about getting our assessment done by a certain time, all right? Okay, that's natural and that's okay. But what's not natural is when stress and anxious feelings occur when a person feels under pressure. It usually goes away, okay? If you've got an assessment you have to get done by tomorrow, at the end of the week,
have assessment, I guess, yeah, have some sort of assessment things you need to do, like a set date. Once that day, you hand it in, the date's gone, you feel better, don't you? Okay? And you've got things you need to do at home. Once, you might feel under a bit of pressure and anxious and worried about doing things. Once it's actually been done and over, you feel a lot better. So, with anxiety, things don't go away. Anxiety is when these feelings don't go away. It's when these feelings keep happening, occurring all the time, day in, day out. So that feeling, that worry feeling you have, the anxious feeling you have about getting something completed or having a worry, doesn't go away. Every day, every night, you've got a worry. You feel anxious. Okay, that's anxiety. It's a serious condition that makes it very hard for people to cope with life. Very hard, because we can all cope with anxiety and being worried to a degree. All right? When it happens all the time, it makes it very difficult for you to get along and get on with life. Okay? But there is good news out there. Support's out there. When I spoke earlier on about getting support early, this is what I mean. Getting support early is critical. It could be a trusted friend. You'll have a trusted friend you could speak to and say, I'm not feeling good. You want to talk it through. It could be a family member. It could be a work colleague. It could be a study colleague. It could be, most importantly, a doctor. Now, we have a terrific medical system in Australia that allows people to go and see a doctor when they need to. Go and see a doctor if you're not feeling good mentally. You're not feeling good up here. We go to a doctor because of physical ailments or problems, but we also have to go to a doctor if we have a mental illness or a worry about our mental health. Now, a doctor could refer you on to a psychologist or a counsellor, and there's nothing wrong with that either. That's one of the things Beyond Blue is trying to break down, the stigma or negative feeling about going to see a counsellor. I've seen a counsellor, and I'll talk about that in my story in a few moments too. And also, your doctor can actually, quite possibly, if they feel that you need to see a psychologist, can give you something called a mental health plan, where you have 10 visits to a counsellor or a psychologist at a very low cost, or it might even be free of charge. So that's something your doctor will know about for sure. Or it could be an organisation like Beyond Blue. You know, Beyond Blue or Lifeline. You've heard of Lifeline before. It's another organisation that does great work in Australia. But Beyond Blue, as I said before, has lots of resources, information about information about anxiety and depression, and things that will help you. So, why am I a speaker for Beyond Blue? It's so I can share my story with you to increase everyone's understanding about mental health. Right? I'm a person who has experienced mental illness, and I'm going to talk about my journey in a few moments. So hopefully we can all start a conversation this evening about mental health and what it means. What it means. So, this is my story of my battle with depression. I'll tell you a bit about my background, what I've done in the past, and what sort of job I had. Because recently, first up, my name is Greg White, as I mentioned, introduced myself at the beginning, and I retired from work 18 months ago. Okay, I worked in primary education as a teacher for 43 years and a primary school principal, and a primary school principal for 35 years in 4 different schools in 4 different communities, right in different parts of Melbourne, in the west, the north, the south and the east, actually all around Melbourne. I'm very lucky to be able to do that. Over those years, I always found it an absolute privilege and an honour to be a part of the school communities that I worked in, and to be part of the life journey of so many families, students and staff. And it was especially a privilege and an honour to be able to work with refugee and asylum seeker families or communities over the later part of my career too. I loved it. It was terrific to be able to support them and help them. and they helped me. My community's always helped me in my life. So my 35 years in principalship were challenging. I'm sure we've all had challenges in life. Life isn't an easy street all the time. It's been challenging, but rewarding. Very rewarding. Every day was humbling and just full of joy and happiness. No one day was ever destined to be the same. I guess in your time, in your life, every day is going to be different. But in my life, my communities were different every day. Now, how lucky I was, because in collaboration with the staff that I work with, I was trusted, or we were trusted, not just myself. Our staff were trusted to actually mould and develop and nurture the minds, bodies and souls of the future citizens of the world, okay? The future citizens of the world. And so be responsible to ensure that the hopes and the dreams of the children's parents came to fruition. Okay? It's really, really important. Really important. So without a doubt, I had a time in my life being a principal and being serving. I say this, serving the different communities that I'm part of. Okay? And whilst pursuing a really, really satisfying and rewarding professional career, I endeavoured to do something you need to do in life, to balance life. That is to have an enjoyable personal life, because you work, you study, but you need to have a good personal life too. That's included, my life has included hobbies and activities such as running, photography, bike riding, hiking, travelling, as well as being a very, very sad AFL Melbourne supporter. I don't know if anyone follows AFL here. Melbourne? No, not okay. Melbourne is an AFL club. We were second or third last year in the ladder, not far from the grand final and the big premiership, which Richmond won this year. This year we're second bottom. It's terrible. So one of my hobbies was to go to the MCG and watch Melbourne play against all the different clubs, and we lost many games, so I was very disappointed. Also, I've been married for just over 40 years to my wife Anna, and we have 3 wonderful daughters aged 34, 30 and 28. No grandkids yet, hoping one day that might happen. So this is my story of my battle with depression. Okay, my life, I'm going to take you back 11 years now to the year 2008. My life up to the summer of 2008 was always predictable, happy and enjoyable. Yes, like most people's lives, there were bumps and challenges along the way, and occasionally, I made very, very big mistakes and small mistakes, but I usually learn from my mistakes, like hopefully everyone here does too, because as I often would say to my students and my staff and the parents in my communities, I say, it's okay to make a mistake, because you learn from your mistakes, and that's very important. No, but it was in the late spring. I'm still in 2008 now. The late spring, so we're jumping to the end of the year, 2008. And I just got back from a really lovely, relaxing, long service leave trip to Europe. Now, you may be aware in Australia, many of the workplaces allow you to have not just annual leave, long service leave too. So I was privileged to be able to take a bit of leave, go with my wife and travel to Europe. We had a lovely time. When I got back, I noticed small changes in my well-being. Just small little changes. Because previously, and I know we're all different about when we go to bed, we lie on the pillow, we normally go to sleep straight away. And that was my experience in my whole life. I would hit the pillow at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock, not wake up to 6 or 6:30 in the morning. A really nice, good night's sleep. But not long after getting back from this trip, what happened was I'd go to bed or sleep at 10 or 11 o'clock, get to sleep, wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30. And guess what? I couldn't get back to sleep. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. It happened for a number of weeks towards the end of 2008. So what then happened was that I found it very difficult to actually keep up with the daily rigour of work. Now, I'm a principal at a school, the boss of the school, so you've got to keep everything in order and make sure everyone's happy and make sure learning happens with the children and great things do happen in the school. So I had to really, really work hard at it. But one morning the alarm bells rang because I was driving to school, driving to work that morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning,
and I felt very drowsy and nearly fell asleep at the wheel, which is not good for me if it's in Australia. Well, in Australia, you know, very tragic circumstances occur with people who are in car accidents. One of the things, the reasons people in car accidents is that they can fall asleep at the wheel. They're very tired. So the alarm bells rang. I actually contacted my doctor straight away, and so I made an appointment to see him and said, look, I'm really concerned about this because this is my life so far. I'm not being able to go to sleep. I normally could go to sleep really well, keep my sleep patterns going and be able to sleep well through the whole night. You know what he said to me? He said to me, I think you might have some symptoms of depression. And that really rocked me because other than being tired at work and not being able to sleep right through the actual evening or night, I felt happy and normal with my life. Nothing seemed unusual. So I was really surprised by this possible diagnosis. Anyway, the summer holidays, right, so we're going to the end of 2008 now, heading into 2009. Summer holidays arrived. Everyone had a nice time, of course, over the summer break. And then just before the beginning of 2009 school year, I noticed these unusual or interrupted sleep patterns occurring again, just a week or two before school. So I thought, some anxiety, in which anxiety, it's okay, when it goes away, but I had this anxiety building up, not being able to go back to sleep. So the first week of school was very, 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 very exhausting and very, very demanding. And once I got back to school, that week and a half, those interrupted sleep patterns continued and I felt very tired. But I managed to have what they call a facade, or keep up the front of being everything okay on the inside, on the outside, but inside I was really tired. But this Wednesday morning, the second week of school, I remember it so vividly, really vividly. Right? I could not get out of bed. Okay, all the other mornings, yep, I was getting out of bed, okay. But one morning I just had a really bad night's sleep. And I said to my wife, I said, Anna, I can't get out of bed. I just cannot move. I just lay there and I had this really big dark shadow, all consuming. It felt like a big dark shadow, right? It was eerie, it was dark, and it was a feeling like I'd never experienced before. It was quite scary actually, and I just couldn't understand what was going on. So then my wife said, oh, okay. I said to my wife, well, can you ring the deputy principal, let her know that I won't be coming in for work. So she rang the deputy principal on my behalf to say, look, I'm taking a sick year, I can't come into work, I don't know why. I mean, she didn't go into the ins and outs. And for me that was a bit unusual because up to that stage I'd been in the workplace for 34 years and had only ever taken 2 sick days. 2 sickies, I say. So, you know, for me it was quite out of the ordinary. So anyway, my wife went off to work, my daughters went off to uni, to school, high school, and I was left alone at home. So, what am I going to do? I felt hopeless. I just felt this feeling of a sense of not knowing what to do. I was totally unmotivated and disinterested about going into work. Totally disinterested and not motivated. Again, a feeling I never had before, really. So, what I decided to do was, I suppose, instinctive. I jumped out of bed, eventually pushed myself out of bed, jumped into my running gear. I mentioned before I really like running, enjoy running, and hopped into my car and drove down to the local running track. And at the running track, I just ran. I ran and ran and ran for an hour and a half. Just ran. I just like getting something out of my system. I knew. And what happened was I released something called endorphins. You know, endorphins are little brain cells up here. They actually make you feel happy when you do things you really enjoy. When you exercise, there's a good chance you'll release something called endorphins because it makes you feel better. It could be walking, swimming, cycling, meditating, relaxing, yoga. Lots of endorphins can occur. So I did feel better, and not 100%, but I feel a lot better. I got back, and I thought I needed to do something. So my inner voice said to me, Greg, you need to do something about this. You're feeling terrible. I don't know why you feel terrible, but mate, you need to do something. So I rang 2 people. I rang my principal union advocate, okay, a person who looks after principals across all the system. And he was very good. He listened to me and he said, look, after I felt a bit embarrassed when I spoke to him, but he said, look, no, that's okay. I know a counsellor or a psychologist who's working with a number of principals at the moment with similar issues, not exactly the same. I'll I'll give you his number and you can make an appointment to see him. And my union was able to cover that part of it. The second thing I did was ring my doctor or GP. Remember I spoke about seeking support early, and I did this instinctively. I actually contacted my doctor and I made an appointment to see him that day. So I went in and spoke to him, and he believed that I was suffering, this time he said, significant issues associated with depression. So he immediately referred me to a clinical psychologist. So I was actually referred to two counsellors or psychologists. They didn't know I was seeing each other, okay, which is a little bit unusual. But one person was dealing clinically, he was dealing with a lot of things to do with relaxation, breathing exercises, mindfulness, trying to calm me down and just work through that, and also talk about the issues that he thought that might be causing my depression. And the other one was talking about more my workplace. The other psychologist spoke about my workplace. So I actually saw them for a number of, I saw them both for a number of months separately. And then I told them that I was seeing separate psychologists, which is not the usual thing to do. And they were fine. They said, look, if it's helping you, do it. So that was okay. And I went on to see the psychologist for quite a number of years, which I'll talk to in a few moments. And at this point, after being officially diagnosed with depression, I needed to talk to my family about it. Okay, I tried to be as transparent or as open with my family. So I spoke to my daughters, 3 daughters in my family, and guess what? They understood. They were caring. I did find it a little bit difficult to talk to them about it, but I thought it was important to be upfront and talk to them about it. So that's another thing that we like to tell people. Try and talk to the people you trust and depend on too at times, if you need to. Anyway, I got back to work after that week and a half. I actually stayed away for a week and a half. So I'm putting sickies up my sleeve, I could use them.
Thanks, bro.
And I got back to work. But you know what? I got back to work and I kept up what I call a facade, or another word for facade, like a front. Everything being okay on the outside, but inside, I got terrible. Absolutely terrible. On the outside, of course, being the boss of the community, got to make sure that everyone sees you're okay and you're in charge and looking after the community. And I was doing all those things as best as I could, but inside I wasn't feeling the best. The truth was that, 2 people knew about that I was being diagnosed with depression at the workplace. My employer and the deputy principal, and that was it. But the truth was that I was struggling with many aspects of my work and with the associated stress and not being able to keep up with the daily rhythm of the work, because everyone has to do something in their workplace, and I just couldn't keep up with it. I lost confidence in myself. And over the duration of the year, I felt really tired, unmotivated, and wasn't looking forward to my weekends anymore. Okay, now weekends for teachers, we would obviously work at night too, and sometimes come in on the weekends or work from home or come into the workplace. But every Friday, I would always look forward to the weekend. Yay! Sometimes to relax with my family and be with them, but I could not actually enjoy my weekends anymore. I wasn't even looking forward to them, which was a strange feeling I'd never experienced before. So I was struggling to complete those tasks that I was required to do at work, and to compensate or to make up for the work that I wasn't actually able to do during the week, and trying to cover up this, to make sure no one sort of knew how I was feeling. I started coming to work on a Sunday morning, and I work all Sunday to try and catch up. Now I do this after I had a running group that I would run every Sunday morning at 7:30. We meet in different places around Melbourne. We run for an hour and a half, and we have a nice breakfast together and a cup of tea or coffee, and we connect, we talk to each other, and that's really good medicine too, and I found that very, very helpful. So then I would go to my workplace after that and spend the rest of Sunday catching up the work from the previous week, and also trying to keep my head above water for the week coming up. And that worked, that helped for most of the 2009 school year. And during this time I actually continued my counselling sessions with the psychologist weekly. Initially it was twice a week, then weekly, 2 separate psychologists. My doctor also prescribed me some medication. Okay?
some medication, which helped. And I was a bit reticent or a bit unsure whether to do that, but he said, no, look, take this and it will help. And it did. It helped my condition. My employer and my family were great supports too to me. I increased my exercise regime, and was able to keep the sometimes very difficult aspiration of being positive and resilient in all aspects of my life, because being positive is so important in life and so important in our workplace. And I struggled, but I tried and I got there. So I got through the year, struggled, but I got through the year 2009. Now, the 2010 year started up, and I was really excited because I actually did something that perhaps I shouldn't have. Actually went off my medication with my doctor's approval. And that was at the end of 2000. I think that I was bulletproof and I was fine, and I can move on, I can do without this medication. But you know what? What happened? The 2010 school year was even worse. I spiralled into a condition of hopelessness. I felt totally unmotivated. I totally lost confidence in myself. I even lost a lot of weight. Okay? But prior to that, I was looking forward to the year ahead because I've been granted approval to take some study leave in Ireland and England in term 2, and then term 3, travel to Italy with my wife and some friends as part of my long service leave. And so I was looking forward to that. But these high levels of stress were just getting too much for me. The anxiety was building. I lost confidence in myself, as I said, and found it very difficult even to sleep. Sleep was terrible. To the point where after consultation or talking to my doctor, my psychologist, my family, my employer, I made a very important decision. I took the next 6 months off work. I said, cut to the chase and said, I need to take some sick leave. I had plenty on. I had more than 40 years sick leave accumulated. So I should have done this probably a lot earlier, but I decided, yep, Greg, you need to take the time off. You can't keep struggling like this. So I did. And I felt an immense amount of relief, and that helped. So over the next 6 months, I actually did travel to England and Ireland by myself, studied. It was another challenge and another story in itself, but I made it. I was pleased about that. And we also went to Italy as planned in term 3. That was part of my recovery, and it was part of my sick leave. Again, the time off work, the overseas travel went combined with my prescribed medication, support of my family and employer, and the exercise regime and counselling all contribute to, guess what, feeling great. So 2010 ended, I've been experiencing a real roller coaster ride for nearly 2 years now with depression. I was feeling the best I had for a long time. So I was able to recommence work in term 4, because I remember